Welcome back to Good Money. I'm Tanya Rivero in New York. Consumers in a post-recession economy are easy prey for advertisements that claim their company can reduce your debt by more than 50% or more in just a few months. Thousands of those who've been battered by the recession have succumbed to the ads and dialed the toll-free numbers featured in these ads. They've also signed up for debt relief services, often at considerable expense. Sadly, many of these consumers have ended up even deeper in debt than before they made that phone call. But Ellie Shares, the author of The Little Book of Big Savings, is here with good news on the horizon for those who need to consider debt settlement. Hi there, Ellie. Great to see you again.
Great to be with you today.
So, Ellie, first of all, how bad is the situation among debt relief agencies? Are most of those firms just out there to take advantage of consumers?
Well, obviously there are exceptions to every rule, but for the most part, it's a pretty significant problem. As a matter of fact, the Better Business Bureau has reported that there have been 3,500 complaints since the recession began when it comes to debt consolidation companies. And so this indicates, of course, that it's a much bigger problem because for every one person that reports it, there's, dozens of others that are having problems.
And Ellie, does it seem that the debt consolidation industry has just been thriving during this down economy?
Yes, absolutely. It's one of those industries that does well during a down economy. And unfortunately, in this case, they're taking advantage of the consumer to do that in the guise of trying to help them.
Right. Now, thankfully, a rule approved by the Federal Trade Commission last week is going to make it much harder for debt settlement companies to make a living. So how does this FTC ruling help the consumers?
Well, it's one of these things that's really great for consumers because no longer are these debt consolidation companies going to be allowed to advertise that they can eliminate your debt or reduce it by 50%. And that's going to help a whole lot because these claims now are coming under very careful scrutiny. And then the second way that the rule is going to help is that they can no longer charge upfront fees. And I think that in and of itself is going to make a lot of these firms go under.
Absolutely. So do you think this is a good thing that many of these debt settlement companies can go under?
Absolutely. Yes, Tanya, I do. I think it's a great thing that they're going to be out of business, especially those that are taking advantage of the consumer. I mean, it's been the wild, wild west out there when it comes to debt consolidation companies, and there's a sheriff in town now, and he's looking to clean things up. And I think that bodes well for consumers that really need the help.
Absolutely. I definitely agree with you. I was just being the devil's advocate there, Ellie. But the problem is greater than just dealing with the debt settlement firms, right? I mean, aren't there other companies that contribute to this problem? And what is the FTC doing about those companies?
Well, I'm really glad you brought that up, Tanya, because it is other companies that contribute to this as well. For example, there are marketing companies that get a significant commission on all the consumers that they can sign up for debt relief services. And these marketing companies are not interested in whether it's a good, viable option for the consumer. All they really care about is their commission. And so they're going to come under heavy scrutiny as well. And so not only the debt relief companies, but those that are helping them support gaining money at the expense of the consumer, all of these are going to come under the new FTC ruling, and that's a good thing.
Good, absolutely. Now, it almost sounds as if there are no good options out there when it comes to debt settlement. Are there any good guys in this wild, wild west that we're talking about?
Well, yes, there are good guys, and there are people out there that really do need debt consolidation, and that's a better option for them than Chapter 7 bankruptcy. Because as we know, Chapter 7 bankruptcy will remain on their record for 10 years, and it can really prevent them from getting a job. And in some cases, if you have a security clearance, you would get fired from that job for having filed bankruptcy. So there are good guys out there. It's just a matter of asking the right questions to be able to find them and to let them really help you the way that they can with debt consolidation.
So what are those questions, Ellie? How do you find that company that will truly help consolidate your debt without taking advantage of your situation?
Well, I think that it's very important to ask the right questions, and I think that the very first thing that you should ask is, hey, what is your success rate and what percentage of people drop out of your program? It used to be that they could cherry pick this type of question and just give you the best results, but they can't do that anymore. They have to give you quantitative data in hand to prove the claims that they make about their success rates. And then another one is, how much is it going to cost me? And when can I expect to have my debt settled? You have the right to know these things, and these are a few of the questions that you should be asking prospective debt consolidation companies when it comes to getting the help that you need.
And Ellie, isn't it true that there are nonprofit debt consolidation organizations out there that might be a better option for most people?
Yes, Tanya. And the thing about the nonprofits is that there are quite a few for-profits that try to masquerade as nonprofits. But the way to find the real legit nonprofit is to go to nfcc.org. And this is the National Federation of Consumer Counselors. And they can set you up with a counselor in your area who is truly nonprofit. You can even go right into the office and get the help that you need.
All right, Ellie, thank you so much. And on that note, we're going to take a quick break. But please don't go anywhere, Ellie, because when we come back, we're going to ask Ellie to answer some viewer questions from you, our viewers. That's next. Stay with us. Welcome back to Good Money. I'm Tanya Rivero in New York, and I'm joined once again by Ellie Kay, America's family finance expert and author of The Little Book of Big Savings. In this segment, Ellie is going to help us answer some viewer questions. Ellie, thank you so much for sticking with us. The first question comes from Drowning in Debt in Durango, and he writes in saying, I'm at the point where I have $20,000 in consumer debt, and I know I need to do something about it. I've been looking around for a company that will help me, but I want to know what red flags I should look for so I can find one that is legitimate. Ellie, so many people are in this situation and they want to know that they're making the right choice when they pick a debt settlement company.
Well, that's right. And I think there's some definite red flags that you need to look for in this situation. Number one, if they guarantee that they can eliminate unsecured debt, if they promise that you're going to be paying pennies on the dollar, if they require substantial monthly fees, if they are looking to you and they demand a percentage of the amount of money that they're saving you, that's another red flag. And also, I think that one of the other things is if they advise you to stop making payments to creditors. This is something that should cause you great alarm. And then also, if they tell you that credit card companies cannot sue consumers for unpaid balances, that's another thing that is absolutely not true. And then finally, I think that the last thing that you need to look at is if they promise that their data, the way that they do business, is not going to have a negative effect on your credit report or your credit history. So all of these things are red flags, something you should look at and be very careful. And just say no to any company that has any of these.
Some of these things are also now illegal, right? So could Drowning in Debt in Durango report this company to the FTC if some of these things popped up?
If it pops up in the future, they can. Unfortunately, a lot of these things are not retroactive. So this has been some of the problems in the past. But, it's not to say that there might not still be those out there that still try to operate under the old rules before they're shut down by the FTC. So it's still important to know what the red flags are.
All right, Ellie, thank you for that answer for Drowning in Debt in Durango, and we wish he or she the best of luck. The next question comes from Samantha and Tommy of Riverdale, California. They sent in their question via Facebook. We went to a debt relief company for an initial meeting, and we were not sure if we should go with them. They don't charge an upfront fee. Instead, they charge a percentage of the amount they will save us, but we're still going to have to pay. Is this good? Well, Ellie, that's one of your red flags.
Absolutely. I'm glad that they wrote in. I hope they're watching today because that is a red flag. And if anytime they're asking you to pay a percentage, now that becomes illegal. So if you're in the middle right now of paying a percentage, then I think that you need to go back to your existing debt relief company and tell them that under new FTC rules, this is now illegal. And maybe you can even get it changed if you've already committed to that.
All right. Thank you for that, and good luck to Samantha and Tommy. Don't do it if you're watching. All right. Alton and Sharon of Oxford, New York, write in saying, we are talking to a debt consolidation company, and it's all so confusing. We want to save money on our overall credit card bills, which cost us about $800 a month, but the company is telling us to make payments and save up. How much are we supposed to save? Ellie, what would you tell them?
Well, that's right. A lot of people don't really understand how debt consolidation companies work. And the way it usually works is that they set up a fund and you contribute money to this fund until you get a certain amount in there. Then they take that money in the fund and they go back to your creditors and they see if they'll settle for less than what you owe. So that's the way that they do it. But as a consumer, now under the new FTC regulations, you have a right to ask them how much money you're going to have to save in that fund before they take it to your creditors to make that settlement. So that's kind of how it works, and you need to go back and ask them that question, how much more am I going to have to save before you're settling with my creditors?
All right. Good luck, Alton and Sharon. Now, Audrey wrote in with a question. When my brother and his wife set up a debt consolidation, they had him set up a fund that he made payments to. It turns out that the place they held the money was also in partnership with the debt company, and he wasn't allowed to access the money. Is this the way it is supposed to be done? Now, that sounds really suspicious to me.
Right. You know, this is part of the Wild Wild West that we talked about earlier. This is part of what has been wrong with the system. And under the new FTC rulings, now you have to set up a fund in a financial institution that is not associated with the debt consolidation company. So now you can't have all these multi-businesses going on, all of them getting a little bit of piece of what the consumer has to pay to settle their debts.
All right, Ellie, thank you so much for that. Now, Mariah of Allentown, Pennsylvania writes in asking, I was thinking of calling my creditors myself, but my friends say I should let the debt consolidation company call them. Who is right? Ellie, what would you tell Mariah?
Well, Mariah, I think that you should call them before you go with a debt consolidation company. If you've already turned it over to them, then they're kind of in the driver's seat at this point. But if you have not signed on with a debt consolidation company yet, by all means, call them. Tell them you're having a difficult time. You want to be able to pay off this debt. It is in their interest to come to terms with you because they want that debt paid as well. So call them directly, and I think that it could go very well with you if you at least try that approach.
But what if she has already signed up with the debt consolidation company? Can she still call her creditors?
Well, I think at that point she needs to leave it to them so that you don't have two people calling them and working it at the same time.
All right, Ellie, as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to answer our viewer questions. That's all the time we have.